Jennifer, are you here?
Everybody. Hello. Thank you, Senator Austin. Thank you, distinguished members of the Committee on Appropriations. It's been a pleasure hearing you, and I really appreciate all of your hard work. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Bill 340, an act concerning funding for housing services. As you mentioned, my name is Jennifer Paradis. I'm the Executive Director of the Beth-El Center. We provide a continuum of emergency homeless response services and emergency food programs in Milford. Last year, we served 300 individuals and families in our shelter programs and just under 35,000 meals in our soup kitchen. 12 years ago, I was an overnight residential staff member at the Wyndham No Freeze Hospitality Center. This was a 30-bed winter shelter program that, with no other options, provided tents to many of our guests at the end of the season. To think that we have come so far in our practices, our coordination, our mission, and in our progress to end homelessness. However, our state support dollars have not increased by a dime along the way. The CT Nonprofit Alliance has done great work in closing the deficit due to inflation, and we today are asking to carry the torch towards equity. I'm here today to respectfully request that the state enact a law requiring state agencies to ensure that funding levels for homelessness and housing assistance services reflect the true cost of these professional services, including competitive wage and benefits to frontline workers who staff every intervention of the homeless response system from outreach to permanent housing. There is a clear reason why this bill is so important, and those reasons are told by the story of Dee. One of our staff members. Dee has spent the past 6 months responding to the health and safety needs of the men, women, families, youth, and veterans in our emergency shelter program, currently housed in hotels. Without fail, she has used public transportation to get to our site on time and has diligently responded to the needs of our most vulnerable clients, including those who are COVID-19 positive and were first notified of their diagnosis with Dee on shift, and worked to get them into isolation safely. On February 11th, Dee sent me a text saying that she was dealing with some things and could not make it to work that day. Knowing how unusual that is, I called her immediately, and Dee shared, "I became homeless today." That evening, Dee found herself in the same line as those she served, awaiting a walk-in bed at Motel 6. Just like all of our guests, with dignity and respect, we provided her a safe place to lay her head and quickly connected her with diversion services and housing leads. She found her stable housing a week later with the assistance of her peers. This serves as an example of two things. First, that the community that makes up the homeless response system has relied on each other like family over the last year, no different than nurses in hospitals or aides in nursing homes. And secondly, the same system that is working to end homelessness is subsequently creating it with poverty wages for our frontline staff. Our decade of experience in doing more with less, and with the realization that there are many more Ds in our system than ever before, I implore us to move forward with SB 340. It will pave the way to create a more common understanding and sustainable solution for us all. In addition, and not as an afterthought, but in solidarity, I would like to express my support of Bill 6662, and with great respect to the social justice warriors who have spoken to this bill today, and with recognition that racial justice is housing justice. We must prioritize adequate funding to homeless service organizations so that every employer is able to provide their staff with a safe working environment and a living wage. Creating a funding plan that ensures livable wages and benefits would go a long way to eliminating the racial and economic inequities that have become so glaring during this pandemic. Thank you to this committee for the opportunity to speak today, and I look forward to submitting a longer testimony that details my support of the bill.